What's up, Rip City? Welcome to a update video on what I think about how the Blazers' young players are stepping up. And I say young like they're not 1 and 2 years older than me. What we're going to be covering today is Nassir Little's improvement, Anthony Simons' improvement, and Gary Trent Jr.'s improvement. I'm going to start with Nassir because he hasn't gotten as much playing time as the other two. But Nassir's really starting to come along. I think he's improving a lot, playing really well with the minutes he's given. I think that he deserves a lot more minutes, especially after that 30-point game against Milwaukee. I think you're going to see a lot more minutes from him. Especially, I've noticed that Hood's had some injuries, and just some of the injury bug that's going around Portland. You don't want. We got good players, so they're able to step up. I think Nassir's going to become a pretty integral part of the Blazers' second unit. I don't see him overtaking Covington or Derek Jones, but or Carmelo for that reason, the way he's shooting the ball right now. But if he has a bad shooting night, I feel perfectly confident putting in Nassir and just letting him go to work. He brings an entirely new. He's kind of a mix of Covington's skill set, Derek Jones Jr.'s skill set. He's got that quick bounce. We saw that last night against the Thunder, that coming off the curl, just to slam it on top of his head. That was a great play, and it was nice to see a Blazers player be able to take someone off the dribble, because I know Derek Jones Jr. likes to go over people too, but having a second player that can do that when Derek Jones isn't in there is another dunk threat. I think it's an underrated part of the team, and I think that's going to be a really good thing. So I was looking at the Bleacher Report and Sports Insider's draft profiles, and that's what I'm going to be going off of a lot of this video. They put his pros were his defensive potential and that he's very physical. Jeremy Woo gave this draft pick a B+, which I think it was a pretty good draft pick, because Nassir Little, especially at the beginning of his college career, was projected to be a lottery pick. So getting Nassir on the 25th pick was a pretty good move, especially when the Blazers needed a forward. Some of the things that they didn't like about it was he had a very short college career. I think he came off the bench at his college, and he is rather short. I think he's 6'6". Yeah, he's 6'6" as a forward, so he's a little undersized for the 4 and a little bit slow for the 3. I think he's going to be playing more 3-ball than 4. Unless they're playing someone like Draymond Green, who isn't really a major offensive threat, but he's also undersized. So if you can get that undersized matchup, or even if you're playing someone, I think like a Lauri Markkanen, who's not the strong type, I think that Nassir can bully him around being a lot stronger than he is. His pro comparison was Thaddeus Young, which I don't think is a bad. This is one of the ones I agree with, pretty close to what it is now. I think that he could be better than Thaddeus Young if he gets more minutes. But I think Nassir is going to be becoming a really integral part of this team when it's going forward in the next couple weeks. And I think that hopefully Stotts will see that he deserves more playing time when Derek Jones Jr. gets into foul trouble, or Robert Covington's not hitting, or Carmelo Anthony's not hitting. Just throw in Nassir, let him bring that energy, and I think it'll bring a really nice spark for the Blazers. The next person I was going to go over was Anthony Simons, who was selected 24th in the first round out of IMG Academy. It's complicated because you can't go right out of high school, so he came from a separate private thing. I don't really understand how that worked, but I know that he didn't end up going to college. Again, Jeremy Woo gave this a C-, which I think is brutally low. His pros on his draft profile were he's athletic. He's got a natural jump shot. He has defensive potential with his length, but he's not a pure point guard, needs more muscle, and doesn't assist very well. I agree with some of the cons that he doesn't pass the ball as much as a pure point should. However, I think that his game is a lot based on his rhythm and his confidence. And so if he's feeling confident, I think he's going to start passing the ball more. And when he gets the flow of the offense, and because you got to remember, realistically, he got a little bit of playing time last year as the backup point guard. But with CJ out, he was kind of thrown into the fire. And I think he's done pretty well. I think he has games where he's off and he has games that he's on. But I think once that he gets his confidence in that I deserve to be here, and he does deserve to be there. He's very athletic. He had that really nice dunk, not yesterday's OKC, but a couple games before that, which was really impressive. And it's good to see Ant getting some minutes and getting some buckets, because I know that I've always been an Ant fan, but I think that a lot of the Blazers community was disappointed with his performance last year. And I think that was more, he wasn't allowed to get his minutes in because Stotts likes to run CJ as the backup point guard, because when you're playing back, and then stagger Dame and CJ. But in this, having a reliable pair like Gary and Anthony, you don't have to stagger Dame and CJ as much, because you don't have to worry about losing some of your offensive firepower when you take both of your stars out, and CJ's out right now. So it's good to see Ant be able to step up. And I think, if looking back at this draft class, I think that they would have given Ant probably a B-, because he hasn't gotten his minutes in. If he was on the Charlotte Hornets, I think he would be a A, because he would have had a lot more playing time. And I think that if Ant got the same minutes, I think that he could get probably 15 points a game if he got a lot of minutes. But that's to be seen. He's kind of inconsistent, and it's to be seen. And going back to Nassir really quick, because I forgot to do it. Nassir, I would probably give Nassir, just for lack of minutes, I'd give him more of a B instead of a B+, just because he hasn't gotten enough minutes. Once he gets his minutes, I think it's going to be pretty nice. I think he'll go back up to a B+, or he go to B+, maybe an A- if he can continue to just put good minutes in defensively, offensively, just getting stats, just getting minutes in. And I think that he'll be a really good player moving forward with this team, especially a team with kind of weak forwards, outside of they have good forwards now, but in the past had become weak forwards. Then we have Gary Trent Jr. Obviously, he exploded in the bubble. He was selected by Sacramento and then traded to Portland on draft night. His pros he had a very negative Bleacher Report that I noticed. He had a natural shooter, efficient in transition are his pros, which you can see now he's very efficient, very, very good shooter. His cons were he does not assist. He's an essential non-playmaker. He's a bad defender. And the one that really caught my eye was they put the best case scenario for Gary Trent Jr. This is paraphrased, not a direct quote, but the best case scenario for Gary Trent Jr. was to be a productive Buddy Hield, which I don't think that could be any more wrong. I like Buddy Hield's game. I think Gary Trent Jr. is better than Buddy Hield in almost every way. I think he's a more efficient three-point shooter. I think that he's better on the drive. I think that he is a much better defender. And I completely disagree. I think any day of the week I would take Gary Trent Jr. over Buddy Hield. And I think that now I think that they're really, really confused about writing that one. Which in the draft, I mean, granted, he wasn't the best player when he went to college, but I'm just surprised that they'd be that down on him. I mean, granted, Buddy Hield has fallen off a lot this year, but I just that blows my mind looking back. I mean, hindsight's always 2020, and in this case, 2021. I just can't wrap my head around that they thought Gary Trent Jr.'s best case scenario would be a productive Buddy Hield, and then now I think Buddy Hield's trying to be Gary Trent Jr. So it was really nice to see Gary Trent get some good minutes. I don't think that there's much argument if CJ's going to get his starting spot back when he comes back, but I think that Gary Trent Jr. brings a lot more defensive energy than CJ does. I get frustrated with some of CJ's energy, but I love his offensive production, especially when he's hitting that pull-up mid-range off the dribble. That's so hard to guard, and well, it appears so hard to guard, and it was just good to see. And now moving forward with these young guys stepping up, I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise, because granted, you never want to have two of your starters be injured for such a long period of time, but it's giving the Anthony and Gary Trent Jr. and Nassir some playing time when they really wouldn't have had any. And I think that it's going to be good going forward, because now you can run Ant, Gary Trent, Hood, Melo, and Cantor or Giles out there when the Blazers get completely healthy, and not really worry about losing too much offensive firepower. Granted, you can never replace Dame, and you can't replace CJ, but you still have that offensive firepower. If you can just keep the lead, like if their starters can get a lead, your bench can keep it. And that's what I think that the Blazers are going to be able to do moving forward. I think they're in a good place. So let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you disagree, feel free to let me know and I'll be answering. If you agree with me, let me know. It's good for the algorithm. So thanks for listening. Go Blazers.